For decades, we've all been told the same story about weight management. It's a simple equation, right? Calories in, calories out. But what if that's not just a little off? What if it's completely backward? What if the kind of calorie you eat matters infinitely more than how many you count? Well, today we're going to dive deep into the science that completely flips that old idea on its head. And you're going to meet the one powerful hormone that's actually running the show. So let's just get right to it and tackle the big question head on. We've all heard it a million times. A calorie is a calorie. The idea that it makes no difference if that calorie comes from a piece of broccoli or a can of soda. But, when you look at it from a biochemical perspective, is that really true? We're about to see why the answer to that is a hard no. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is a direct quote from Dr. Robert Lustig, a pediatric endocrinologist who's dedicated his entire career to studying how sugar affects our bodies. And his take is pretty simple, really. Our obsession with calories has made us completely blind to the real villain in this story. All right, so let's just tear this calorie myth apart, shall we? You see, the whole idea of a calorie actually comes from this device called a calorimeter. And what it does is it measures energy by literally burning food until it's ash. But here's the thing. Our bodies aren't some simple furnace. We're an incredibly complex biochemical lab. And how we process a calorie depends completely on where it came from. And to really get why, we need to look at the number one culprit, table sugar, or what scientists call sucrose. Now, it looks like one simple thing, but it's actually two totally different molecules that are chemically stuck together, glucose and fructose. And this little detail, this is where the entire story takes a really interesting turn. Now, here's where it gets kind of crazy. Even though glucose and fructose have the exact same number of calories gram for gram, your body treats them in completely, totally different ways. It's almost like thinking of them as the hero and the villain in our own metabolic story. And wow, the difference here is just night and day. On one side, you've got glucose. It's literally the energy of life. Every single cell on this planet can use it for fuel. It is so crucial that if you don't eat it, your body will actually make it on its own. But then you've got fructose, the evil twin. It's not essential at all, and only one organ in your entire body can handle it, your liver. And in high doses, the liver processes it almost exactly the same way it processes ethanol. Yeah, the alcohol in beer and wine. So you're probably asking, what's a high dose? Well, it turns out our liver can safely process the fructose from about 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day. The problem is, the average person is consuming way, way more than that. And a lot of the time, we don't even realize it. It's like we're putting our liver through this constant overdose day in and day out. And this right here is where we finally meet the real star of the show, insulin. Because this constant fructose overload doesn't just damage your liver, it completely throws a wrench into the works of this one master hormone. To put it simply, insulin is your body's main energy storage hormone. Its job is to be the traffic cop for all the fuel you take in. When you eat, insulin tells your cells, hey, burn this for energy right now. Or if you've got too much, okay, pack this away as fat for later. And listen to this is the most important part. According to Dr. Lustig, without high insulin, there is no weight gain, full stop. So how does this whole thing just spiral out of control? Well, it all starts when you slam your liver with too much fructose. The liver just can't keep up, so it has no choice but to convert that fructose into fat, which is how you get a fatty liver. Over time, that fat makes the liver insulin resistant, which just means it starts ignoring insulin's messages. So what happens? Your pancreas panics and starts shouting, pumping out even more insulin to try to get the message through. And the end result? You've got these crazy high levels of this fat storage hormone running through your body 24/7. Now, this state of constant high insulin, it does more than just make you store fat. It actually traps you in this vicious biochemical loop that makes losing weight feel impossible. It totally messes with your brain's ability to know when you're full. To get this, we've got to talk about one more hormone. Its name is leptin. Leptin is made by your fat cells. Its one and only job is to travel up to your brain and say, hey, we're good down here. We've got plenty of fuel stored. You can stop eating now. Think of it like your body's natural off switch for hunger. Okay, and here is the absolute crux of the problem. Chronically high insulin levels physically block that leptin signal from ever reaching your brain. So your fat cells could be screaming at the top of their lungs, we are full, but your brain gets nothing. Just silence. And the result of that? It's a total disaster. Because the leptin signal is blocked, your brain's honest-to-goodness perception is that you are starving to death. It doesn't matter if you just ate a huge meal. As far as your brain is concerned, you're in a famine. So what does a brain do when it thinks it's starving? Well, it does exactly what it's supposed to do to survive. It cranks up your hunger and cravings to make you go find food. And it slows down your energy use to conserve fuel, which makes you feel tired, sluggish, and unmotivated. And I really want you to get this. Those feelings people call gluttony and sloth, they are not a failure of willpower. They are a direct biological response from a brain that simply cannot see the I'm full signal. But listen, the danger of having high insulin all the time, it goes way, way beyond just gaining weight. In fact, it's one of the main drivers behind most of the chronic diseases that we're all so terrified of today. You know, we hear all the time about the dangers of high blood sugar, right? High glucose and diabetes. And it's true that high glucose damages all the tiny little blood vessels in your body, leading to problems with your eyes, your kidneys, your nerves. But high insulin, man, you could argue it's even more dangerous. It attacks the big blood vessels, the major highways of your circulatory system. And that damage is what directly leads to things like heart disease, many types of cancer, and even dementia. Dr. Lustig doesn't pull any punches here. He says that even if you're on medication and your blood sugar looks perfect, if your insulin levels are still high, you're still at enormous risk. You'll just die of a heart attack or cancer instead. The insulin itself is the problem. Okay, so if the old way of thinking is completely broken, what do we do? It's going to take a totally new way of looking at this, shifting our focus away from calories and putting it squarely on our hormones. All right, first things first. We just have to accept that counting every single calorie, obsessing over the numbers, that is not the solution. It's like trying to fix a leaky pipe by mopping the floor. You're dealing with the symptom, not the cause. The real answer, the real game changer, is focusing on your hormones. It's about fixing that broken communication system inside your body that's been driving you to store fat and feel hungry all the time. And that brings us to the one thing I want you to walk away with today. The single most important goal. You have to get the insulin down. That is the key that unlocks everything. Metabolic health, sustainable weight loss, all of it. And how do you do it? You start by cutting back on the foods that spike it the most, refined carbs and especially sugar. So I'm going to leave you with a question to think about. Looking at your own approach to health, what are you really focused on? Are you still stuck in that old trap of counting calories? Or are you ready to start controlling the hormones that are actually in charge? Because the answer to that question, well, it could change absolutely everything for you.